Please don't reset your TV, phone, or computer.
Hello, strangers. In America, they have a day that celebrates. A day of thanks. Let's have a story. Let's have a creepy, terrifying tale. And this tale is called Gobble Gobble.
Please don't reset your TV, phone, or computer.
It's the day before Thanksgiving. It's early, and Tom is out after work with a shopping list texted to him by his wife, Helen. He works nights as a security guard, and he was kind of mad. The day before that, they'd been out and spent plenty of money on Thanksgiving. Still, he needed to pick up more things for the special day, and the one thing he definitely needed to get was the turkey. The day before, the big superstore had put aside a big turkey to be collected for the next day. It was meant to be the best and the biggest turkey. Tom has a big family, and there was at least going to be 15 guests coming to their house. On the drive there, in his large family car, Tom rubbed his face hard, thinking about all the stressful thoughts of his family. He never got along with his dad. He would always put him down and make him feel like a complete failure. He arrived at the store and walked to the back to talk to Harry, the store manager. "Oh, hi, Tom. Here for that big bird." Tom looked up at Harry. He was holding the hugest turkey Tom had ever seen, but for some reason it was a weird colour, almost black. Tom looked confused. "Not to worry about the colour. This is a rare bird, and its skin is this colour. This is a new kind of breed, and believe me, it's the most tastiest turkey you'll ever taste." Tom smiles. "That's great, thanks, Harry." Harry, the store manager, then puts the turkey into a big clear bag and hands it over to Tom. Tom struggles to take it as it's so heavy, and he places it down on the trolley. Tom walks around picking up things around the store that were on the list. You know, silly things like sprouts. Tom then gets to the till. Harry runs over to the till. "Enjoy that turkey, and happy Thanksgiving." Tom smiles at Harry, but then the lady tells him how much it costs. "That's $90.99, please, sir." Tom slowly puts his hand into his pocket to reach for his wallet and swallows hard, and all of a sudden feels hot and weird. He walks out of the store, puts the shopping in the back of his car, and he sits in the driver's seat, looking over the receipt. God damn it, how much was that turkey? All of a sudden he could hear a rustling sound coming from the back of the car. Tom sat up quickly and turned around, but nothing was there. Then he started his drive home, but for some reason he kept on getting this weird feeling that something was watching him from the back of the car, and he couldn't shake off that feeling for the whole trip home. He arrived home and carried the bags, then with both hands slid the turkey into his arms. The massive grey looking turkey was so heavy. He opened his front door to the smell of pies and a delightful smell of Thanksgiving. His wife Helen smiled at him. "Oh, let me help." His wife was always so happy, and this kind of irritated Tom. Tom looked at her. "Do you know how much that bird was?" And he handed over her the receipt. "Oh my, but why is it that colour?" said Helen. "Don't worry, it's a rare bird. It's meant to look like that." She takes the giant turkey out of the clear bag and washes it under the tap in the sink. There's a big glass pot on the table, full of delicious smelling stuffing. Helen lays the big turkey down onto a big tray and starts stuffing the green stuffing inside of the turkey's neck hole. She pushes her hand deep inside and then screams as blood starts spraying from inside the turkey. Tom runs over. As she pulls her hand out, there is a massive cut across her hand. She has blood splattered all over her cute cartoon turkey print apron. She was crying. Tom, there's something sharp in there. Tom holds her hand with a tea towel and walks her over to the bathroom to get a bandage. He cleans the wound, but then all of a sudden, they hear a sound. Gobble, 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 gobble. It sounded just like a turkey. They both looked at each other and walked back into the kitchen. Tom's brother and wife were standing at the kitchen window, pointing. Gobble, gobble. Tom's brother is making a turkey sound. Tom goes and opens the door. Hey, Tom. Wow, big turkey this year. Gobble, gobble. You're earlier than expected, Gary. You wasn't meant to be here till tomorrow. We're here earlier. I couldn't wait to see my big brother. How's things going, Tom? Tom's wife, Helen, walked in, still with blood all over her apron. Gary pointed. Wow, I didn't know you killed the turkey yourself. Helen looked down at her apron. Tom then spoke up. No, she just cut herself. While she was stuffing the big beast, Tom and Gary just laughed. Gary was Tom's younger brother, and he was always laughing and joking. When are the others coming? Asked Gary. Tomorrow, says Tom. You know, when you were meant to get here? They both laughed again. Helen then put some gloves on and got back to the turkey. She decided not to stuff the turkey after all, and then decides just to pop it in the oven on a low heat. Helen shows Kate to the spare room while Gary and Tom have a beer. Kate asked Helen if she needs help preparing the food for tomorrow. Yes, that would be great, said Helen with a smile. What happened to your hand? Helen tells her all about the turkey and returns downstairs to prepare the food for tomorrow. Happily, they spend the rest of the day drinking wine and laughing about the old days. They decide to go to bed early because the families will be there tomorrow morning. But in the middle of the night, something strange happens. There's banging from downstairs. Thud, thud, thud. Helen wakes up. She shakes Tom. Honey, honey. Gobble, gobble. Thump, thump. Tom wakes up. What? What, Helen? There's a sound downstairs. Gobble, gobble. Thud, thud. Tom rubs his eyes and creeps out of the room and walks down the staircase into the kitchen, feeling the walls slowly. He tiptoed into the room where the only light was coming from the oven. He could see the turkey slowly cooking, but looked around and saw nothing but tubs and bowls covered in tinfoil glistening from the light from the oven. He walked back upstairs. Helen was already asleep, and Tom got back to bed. Tom woke with the smell of turkey and his wife calling his name. Tom, get up, they'll be here soon. As Tom walked downstairs, he looked into the kitchen. It looked beautiful, all the food laid out, and little cartoon turkeys darted around the room. The dining table was set out with candles and gold glitter. Wow, Helen, this looks beautiful. You have been so busy. Thanks, honey. I have been up a while. The turkey was on the main table, covered in tinfoil. Tom heard the door. It was Max, his older brother, with his wife and their 4 children. Then his sister Lynn and her 3 children. Then, not long after, there was another knock on the door. It was his mum and dad, and his weird cousin Jim that had nicely drove them over Everyone was full of hugs and cheers, and they sat in the sitting room. It was already 11:30, but wine was being poured. Then there was another knock on the door. Now it was Helen's family, her sister Natalie, and her mum and dad. Everything was running on schedule. Time seemed to go very quickly. Then it was turkey time. Everyone was very excited, and they all hustled to get round the table. Tom! Helen passed Tom a big carving knife and whispers, "It's for the turkey." He picks up a glass and taps it 3 times with the knife. He toasts and shouts, "Happy Thanksgiving! Happy Thanksgiving, everyone!" He then slides the turkey closer to the edge of the table, picks up a fork with 2 pins to hold the turkey still as he carved. But before he could begin, the turkey started to move. It started twitching and moving. Gobble, 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 gobble. Tom looked down at its weird grey skin as it wobbled on the serving plate. Everyone looked at each other very confused. And then it seems to almost stand up by itself, and it launches into the air and lands on Tom's head. A very loud crunch sound. And then, all of a sudden, Tom stabbed Helen straight through the eye and shouted. You could hear Tom's muffled voice through the turkey saying, "Helen, what are you thankful for?" in a very muffled voice. She had blood running down from her eye. Everyone was stunned, not knowing what to do, as Tom stood there with the turkey on his face. Helen didn't say a word. She was dead already. Tom put his hand on her head and pulled back, the knife sliding from her eye. Then Tom, with the turkey on his head still, turns to his brother, Gary, and says, "Gary, what are you thankful for?" But before Gary could even answer, Tom grabbed hold of his hair and slit his throat. Blood poured all over the table, and everyone started to scream. Everyone ran out of the room, not believing what they had seen with their own eyes. Kate got straight on her phone and called the police. They all ran to their cars and waited. But when the police arrived to see the bloody, disgusting scene left behind, Tom was nowhere to be found. So now, please watch out. Tom is still out there. He's still at large. And who knows what that turkey has turned him into? A killer. Is it mind control? Or was this just a game to Tom? Maybe we'll find out next time. Now everyone is scared of the story about Turkey Tom. Thanks so much for coming along and watching today's tale. Hope I didn't scare you too much and you sleep alright tonight. Don't sleep. Be scared, because Tom the Turkey Man is still out there. And next he might come to your house. Maybe even for Christmas. And I'll see you next time for another creepy, terrifying tale. Goodbye now. Bye.
Please don't reset your TV, phone, or computer.
Hello, strangers.
Please don't reset your TV, phone, or computer.
Don't you just love this time of year? The Christmas season. Cold, festive cheer. Well, I don't. Anyway, you're here for this week's creepy, terrifying tale, aren't you? Well, Tom is back. Gobble gobble. Part 2. And this tale is called Turkey, anyone? A woman sits watching scary stories on her TV from YouTube. She's looking through the videos, and she comes across a goth telling creepy, terrifying tales. It's Christmas Eve. Her house is decorated in red and green. Stockings hang over the fireplace, and a large pine tree carved in tinsel. She looks over at the tree with flashing lights on the tree, and she thinks about her kids that are coming to visit. Her plans were to have both her children home for Christmas time, as they were both in their 20s, and the last one moved out last year. Then she heard something. Hello, strangers. Woman was just staring at her TV. It was like the woman who was telling the tales was talking right at her, talking directly at her. It was a weird story called Gobble Gobble, and the woman laughs hearing the title's name, but there was something in the tone of the voice of the YouTuber that had her almost hypnotized. The woman sits there and listens to the story unfold, laughing at all the turkey sounds, wondering why the turkey had grey skin. She was wondering what might happen, and was very surprised about the way it ended. She slams down her remote. What happened to that turkey, Tom? There's no way he could have gotten away. It was getting cold and dark outside, so she went to go get some firewood to start a fire. She gets up, pulling off her blanket, and walks over to the back door. But as she walks towards the back door, she can see something. She walks closer, and as she looks through the glass of her back door, she can see a dark shadow figure. The shadow didn't look like a bush or a tree from her back garden. The shadow looked like a man with an odd-shaped head. She looked down, blinking. Blinking her eyes, she rubs them and then takes another look. But there was nothing there. She slowly unlocks the door and walks outside and takes 4 logs from a pile leaning against the wall outside. Gobble gobble! She's startled and looks out around the garden. She looks around again and sees nothing. But that doesn't stop her from running inside and locking the door behind her. She goes and puts the logs down on the fireplace and walks over to the window in the front room, window that's facing the back garden, and looks out. She did not see a thing out there. She just closes the curtains and shrugs. She gets her fire started and gets herself all comfy again, gets herself all comfortable in her chair with her blanket as the flames bring heat into the room. She just gets comfy again and then picks up the remote control. But she was still feeling slightly shook. She just kept on thinking about that figure outside. Who was it? She was just really thankful her children were going to come and visit her so she wouldn't be alone. Hattie, her daughter, aged 24, and Harry, aged 22, meant to be over this evening about 10 o'clock, and she was going to be driving over. Ping! It was her phone. She looked down at the bright lit screen. It was a message from Hattie. The message read, "I'm just packing the car and then I'll be on my way." Gobble gobble! It sounded louder. It was outside the front room window. She crept over to the window and moved the curtains, and there, before her eyes, was the most disgusting thing she had ever seen behind glass. She saw yellow, stained trousers and a yellow stained top with yellow lumps looking like pus and green lumps looking delightful, disgusting. It looked like dried up sick and mucus. She looked up higher to see his face, but it wasn't a face. All there was a grey-skinned turkey. Turkey's body. Was this Turkey Tom from that YouTube channel, from that YouTube story? But before she could react, he smashed his way through the window with his turkey head. She runs out to the kitchen, but leaves her phone on the chair. She doesn't know what to do. She cries out, "Stop! I will call the police!" The strange man with the turkey head walks at full speed over to the kitchen drawer. He opens it and his fingers wiggle inside. A very large turkey baser. He grabs her head and shoves it hard up her nose. She's breathing deeply now, blood running from her face. She kept on watching him as he went back into the drawer and pulled out a cleaver. Then we go back to Hattie. The time is 9 o'clock. She's getting closer to home for Christmas. It's cold and it's starting to snow. She pulls over to get some gas. She tries to ring her mum. There's no answer, and that's not like her at all. Hattie pays the cashier and walks back to her car in the dark. She's got a bad feeling and she keeps checking her phone. Then she gets back to the road. As she's waiting in a queue of traffic, she checks her phone again. There's still no answer, no messages, nothing. Then she pulls over to her mum's house. Still, a bad feeling washes over her again. Hattie takes out her house keys, the keys that she was given when she was 16 years old by her mum. She unlocks the door and pushes it open very slowly. But then she hears a sound. Gobble gobble. This startles Hattie, but she walks in still, slowly walking into the kitchen. There was something cooking in the oven. But then Hattie realizes there is a trail of dark, fresh blood dribbled across the flooring. Hattie started to shout, "Mom! Mom! Mom, where are you?" There was no answer. Gobble gobble! That sound again. Hattie slowly looks across the room. The blood trail led straight into the front room. She followed the trail to in front of the Christmas tree. A big puddle of blood under the tree. All the presents in blood. She follows the blood up the tree until she gets to the top and sees her mother's severed head on the top of the tree with a turkey baser hanging from her nose. Hattie's face turned white as she screamed with fear, sadness and upset. Gobble gobble! She looked over to where the sound came from and sees a man climbing out the smashed window. But his head was a turkey. Hattie panics and gets her phone out of her pocket. She runs to her car until the police turn up. Hattie sits in her car, quiet, in a state of shock. The police bang on the car door. "You rang for the police? Can you tell us what happened here?" Hattie looks up at them, tears running down her face. "My mum, there was an intruder. I saw him leave out our window." "Please, can you describe the man you saw leaving the house?" "He had a turkey for his head." The police both look at each other and burst out laughing. Hattie started to cry. "No, you must believe me. He really did." As the police started their investigation at the scene, they opened the oven. But it was no normal Christmas food that was cooking. Oh no, it was Hattie's mother's body that was roasting in the oven. The police searched the whole house, but there was no sign of Turkey Tom anywhere. Oh well, poor Hattie. Imagine seeing your mother die like that. I will leave the story here, so maybe we can have a part 3. So if you freaks do want a part 3, don't forget to subscribe, as you know I write these for you. Yes, for you. So at least you can do is just push a button and subscribe now. And you do know I love to scare you so much now, don't you? Have a bad day, and I'll see you next week for another creepy, terrifying tale. Goodbye.
Please don't reset your TV, phone, or computer.
Hello, strangers. Back again for this week's story time, are we? And I must say, it is a Christmas cracker of a tale. It's time for the 3rd part of Gobble Gobble. You remember the last 2, don't you? Yes, how amusing, all them deaths. Great. Yes, Tom the Turkey Man is back, and this tale is called Christmas Turkey.
Please don't reset your TV, phone, or computer.
It's 4 a.m. on Christmas morning, and it's been snowing all night long. The streetlights glistening on the snow, on the tree branches, snow covering all the rooftops. Holly looks out of her bedroom window. She looks over at her snoring, sleeping husband. She had to get up and put the presents under the tree. She had lots to do. She had to start making Christmas breakfast and start preparing the Christmas lunch. Her kids will be up soon. Holly has 2 daughters, one 3 years old and one 7. She wanted the most perfect Christmas day. She walks downstairs, half asleep, and pulls over a big bag of wrapped gifts and places them under the tree. Holly absolutely loved Christmas and always tried to have the most perfect day. She was almost obsessed about having everything absolutely perfect. The little twinkling lights on the tree made her smile. "It's Christmas," she whispered to herself. She placed the gifts carefully underneath the Christmas tree and kept taking a step back every now and then and fixing the bows so it looked just like a photo from a magazine. She steps back to admire her work and takes her mobile and takes a photo for Facebook and Santa's bean. She smiles down at her phone while she clicks post. She goes to the fridge and pulls out the Christmas turkey. As she starts to prepare the food, it's still dark out. She hears a sound And all of a sudden, Holly had a strange feeling, and all the hairs on her neck all stood up on end. She looked around. She felt like there was something in the room. She tries to shake off the feeling and puts the radio on. Christmas music is playing. Last Christmas. Holly smiles thinking about her perfect Christmas and starts humming along while she's chopping the vegetables. Carrots, potatoes. She walks to the fridge and opens the big door and pulls out a clear vegetable drawer filled. She looks down at the green balls rolling around in the tray. Yes, she was about to move on to the sprouts. She places the sprouts down onto the countertop. But then, all of a sudden, the turkey had disappeared. The turkey had completely disappeared. What the hell? Holly is confused. It was just there on the table. She looked around, her eyes searching around the countertops and even the floor. Holly muttered to herself, "How can I lose a goddamn turkey?" Then she gets a shock as she hears a sound. Gobble gobble, John, don't mess around. She looked around and turned the radio off. She feels that strange feeling again, like something was wrong. She shouts, John, it's Christmas. Don't mess around. John, her husband, had played tricks on her in the past, and he just loved playing pranks. But why would he take the turkey? Holly walked upstairs, walked into her room, but to her surprise, her husband was still snoring, just like he was when she left him. She stood over him, even more confused. Then all of a sudden, she heard screaming coming from her 3-year-old's bedroom. Holly runs into her daughter's room to find the window smashed and a man with a turkey on his head standing over her daughter. Her head was in his hands, and the turkey that had gone missing was laying on her bed. He grabbed the turkey and forces the turkey onto her daughter's head. Holly was just frozen in shock as she watched her daughter, tears and screams as he punches the turkey down over the little girl's face. Then the screams stop and the turkey man seems to tilt his head and drops her daughter's limp body onto the floor, and he jumps out of the window. John runs into the room. Holly, what's going on? But Holly just stands there and stares at the window. John runs over to his daughter. Holly, what is this? He starts to shout his daughter's name and holds her in his arms. He tries to pull the turkey off, but it's stuck. John then feels for a pulse, but he can't find one. He shouts at Holly to call an ambulance. She's not breathing, but then smash! The turkey man is now standing behind her husband. The turkey man twists John's head. Holly can hear a loud snap as John's body slumps onto the floor in what seemed like seconds. Holly, still in shock, standing in the same place. Turkey man kicks John and picks up her daughter and takes it out of the window. All of a sudden, Holly snaps out of her shock and runs downstairs. Her phone was there next to the tree. Gobble gobble! That sound again. It was behind her. She slowly turned to see Tom the turkey man, snow on his shoulders. yellow and green pus, stains all over his shirt, dried blood on his shoes, and the smell was disgusting. The grotesque figure stood and wiggled his fingers, not looking like human or beast. Holly screamed in terror as it stood before her across the room. It walked and took the knife she had been using for the vegetables and charged at Holly and stabbed her straight in the chest. Blood poured everywhere. Holly begged him to stop, but Tom the turkey man walks back to the counter and grabs the sprouts. He grabs Holly's head and holds her nose, forcing the sprouts down her throat. An hour later, the 7-year-old wakes up. She yawns and looks out the window. There's snow glistening in the sunlight. Her eyes widen. It's Christmas, she shouts in excitement. Excitement rushed over her. Mom! Dad! It's Christmas! She runs down the stairs. The radio is playing Christmas songs, and she looks at the presents under the tree. It looks perfect. Santa had been. But then, to her horror, she can see hair and blood on the carpet. She looks and moves a few gifts. Then she finds her mum's head peeled off its skin with a bow on the top and the note saying "Gobble, gobble," written in blood. The story ends with screams and sobs of terror. This is the last part of Gobble Gobble. So in a way, I must say I'm kind of sad, but who's to say he won't be back next year? Who knows? I hope you have a great Christmas, but beware. Tom the turkey man is still on the loose, so if you hear the turkey call, watch out. He might just be waiting for you. Goodbye.
Please don't reset your TV, phone, or computer.
Tom is back. Snow falls thick and heavy over the quiet streets. Twinkling lights glimmer on houses. Stockings hang neatly on mantles. The smell of roasted meats drift from kitchens. Everything looks so peaceful. Everything looks so safe. But the darkness hides horror. Gobble, gobble. A wobbling, grotesque figure moves through the streets. Tom, Turkey Tom. His head and neck completely encased in a massive roast turkey, legs flopping like grotesque extensions, wings dangling like limp arms. The skin was hardened, juices cursed and surrounded in darkness. Bones poked the odd angles, cracking with every step. A wet, horrific gobble escapes from inside the turkey, announcing his arrival. And he's hungry. Gobble, gobble! The first house Tom enters is quiet. A family sleeps peacefully. He leaps through the window. Smash. Gobble, gobble! The father grabs a frying pan. The mother reaches for a rolling pin. It doesn't matter. Tom moves faster than any eye can follow. The turkey on his head wobbles disgustingly with each step. Screams tear through the house. Blood splatters walls. Juices drip from his face, mixing with the stench of rot and burnt feathers. By the time dawn approaches, the first house is destroyed. A trail of gore marks his path. Tom doesn't stop. Every neighborhood becomes a hunting ground. Windows shatter, ovens swing open, Christmas trees topple. A faint smell of cooked turkey, mixed with decay, hangs over every street. He doesn't need eyes. He doesn't need a face. Fear guides him. Every heartbeat, every whispered panic, every hidden movement, he feels it. He hears it, and he smells it. Gobble, gobble. Gobble, gobble. Families try and hide in basements, garages, and even snow-covered woods. But nowhere and nothing is safe. Every house he enters becomes a stage of chaos. Every scream fuels him, driving him faster, stronger, and more grotesque. Tom is relentless. The turkey head holds every place. No door can block him. No wall can stop him. Every Christmas, every feast, every roasted bird comes his potential weapon. No one, no thing is safe. By morning, the streets are silent, windows shattered, ornaments crushed. Fire smolder, snow is stained red with blood. The police arrived baffled. No footprints, no fingerprints, no sign of forced entry. Only shattered glass, upturned furniture, and a lingering stench of cooked turkey mixed with rot. The survivors whisper in horror. Tom's head is a turkey, and every Christmas, every feast, every roast could be his next host. So the legend continues. Tom vanishes in the snowy streets, leaving terror in his wake. Of the grotesque turkey head wobble, the wet, gurgling goggle haunts the town forever. Every Christmas, families remember, lock your doors, hide your ovens, watch the turkey on the table. Because Tom doesn't need eyes. He doesn't need a face. He only needs fear. Gobble, gobble. And he always returns.